Chacha, ala. Wa mtola mkafe kubati ni Solontoni, wa wachonto. Mbono kukwala matai, temukalale na fiarilwe mwembona majeke chokulepa, nandibona alikwata kwesu. Shabanga bana banomba, bashayishi buko bafuma, tetinda byukulumbanya, alikwata ne chilumba. Umumbone boye kwesu, febabele na kusamba panika. Mwimbono kufala matai, temukalale na fiarilwe mwembona majeke chokulepa, nandibona alikwata kwesu. Shabanga bana banomba, bashayishi buko bafuma, tetinda byukulumbanya, alikwata ne chilumba. Umumbone boye kwesu, febabele na kusamba panika. Umumbone boye kwesu, febabele na kusamba panika. Nefumusha sana shafika, pamwe wae bakalamba, kwa bashibirisha kumulundu, nibamwasa kombe na shitembo, shimbishibirisha kabangwe ulu, nibambuluwe na bambulongwe. Nefumusha sana shafika, pamwe wae bakalamba, kwa bashibirisha kumulundu, nibamwasa kombe na shitembo, shimbishibirisha kabangwe ulu, nibambuluwe na bambulongwe. Kama mwana basongola meno, bena bakwabo nitambi. Mwana basongola meno, bena bakwabo nitambi. Mwana bafolo tokumenso, nabo bene kwabo nitambi. Mwana bafolo tokumenso, nabo bene kwabo nitambi. Kama mwana misisi ya pemu, bena bakwabo nitambi. Mwana misisi ya pemu, bena bakwabo nitambi. Nambo bapika wile kisungu, mukalale mwena temunyabo. Nambo bapika wile kisungu, mukalale mwena temunyabo. Alamumbone boye kwesu, febabele na kusamba panika.
Good evening, wherever you are viewing us from, whether from Livingstone, Kalomo, Mongo, Sesheke, Chilawombe, Mukushi, Chinsali, Luapula, Venangumbo, wherever you are welcome. This is TV Bakwetu, this is Mapanza Nkwilimba on TV Bakwetu, bringing you another episode of hearing from the constituencies. We are still expecting to have Mr. Lakivene, who is the chairperson for Chilanga Ward Development Committee, but he is having challenges joining us, and I hope that he will join us as we proceed. In view of that, I will just perhaps chat with you on the importance of the Ward Development Committee. We wanted to hear from Mr. Vene on what they have done in Chilanga Ward in terms of setting up the Ward Development Committee. As you may be aware, it is important to have this committee which will direct, facilitate development in the wards, including the utilization of the Constituency Development Fund. And if you are hearing me and you are part of Chilanga Ward Development Committee, please do feel free. You can join using the link that I sent, and then you can participate in this program. And even if you are not from Chilanga Ward Development Committee, if you are from anywhere within Chilanga constituency, please do feel free to join us in this discussion. So where do I start from? I'll begin with the importance of the community to participate in the selection of their ward development committee. Now, in many constituencies, in many wards, this is a process that has already been done. And I know that in some areas, we have heard that there were issues when they were electing members of the ward development committee. And this is part of the reason why we have this program, so that we can learn from one another. How did that process go? How is the committee working? What challenges are they facing? This is the reason why we have created this program, hearing from the constituencies. So I would like to appeal to anybody, anywhere within the country, whether they are members of the Ward Development Committee or the Constituents Development Fund, if you want us to have a chat with you one of these days, please do let me know, and we could schedule an appearance for you to talk about what is happening in your constituency or in your ward. Having said that, let me just, since Mr. Beenie has not been able to join us this far, I will use my own example in Nyemba ward. Nyemba ward is one of the 12 wards in Chilanga constituency. And the Nyemba ward is actually my ward. So I'll explain how we went about electing the ward development committee, and I will share a bit on what we have done so far. So the process begins with, in fact, this is a process that is led by the council. In every council has to lead this process in terms of, organizing, informing the communities about the elections of the ward development committees. And, before the ward development committees are elected, we have to begin with the zone. In every ward, there are a number of zones. So what happens is that you have to organize elections at the zone level by choosing one zonal representative. Each zone elects one representative. It means that actually the people in that zone come together and choose one person who is going to represent them. And the next stage is, all those that have been elected from each zone come to a central place where now again the community chooses the ward development committee. So it will be those people that have been elected from the zones, including some representatives of departments that are key in that area. Those are actually appointed by the council. For example, you may have a representative from education, a representative from health, a representative from community development, a representative from agriculture. Those are appointed by the council. So those that have been appointed by the council work together with those that have been elected by the community. Now, at ward development committee level, those that are elected on that committee are the ones that were elected from the zones, and that's how we come up with a ward development committee. So this is what we did in case of Nyemba, where I belong. The community was organized. We chose zonal representatives, and then we chose the ward development committee. Now, the qualifications of somebody to be elected on the ward development committee, they have to come from that ward. Nobody who comes outside from the ward can be elected to be on the ward development committee. So one thing that you have to come from that ward, and it has to be somebody who is not politically active in the sense that they may be holding a political position, and they may be seen campaigning and for their party and things like those. It has to be somebody who is able to work in a neutral way to provide services to all the residents of the ward without segregating based on party affiliation. Because this committee is there to serve everybody in the ward. It's not partisan. The committee serves everybody in the ward. So it's not a committee for the ruling party, UPND. Is not a committee for PF. It's not a committee for any other political party. It's a community committee. And this is where sometimes actually we had probably, I know that there are some places where they had challenges because, people thought, this could be, only for those that belong to a certain political party. So you found that in areas where the opposition is strong, I can hear somebody in the background. Please, if you are not speaking, you can mute yourself, and I'll give you an opportunity to speak, and then you can unmute yourself. So that's how it works. This committee is there to serve. This committee is there to serve everybody in the ward. And so, as I was saying, I'm giving the example of Inyemba ward where I belong. That process was done, and I know that the process was done in all the 12 wards of Chilanga. It's unfortunate that we are unable to hear from Mr. Beenie, but I hope that he will still join us. But I can use our own example to explain what we do. Mr. Msonda, do you belong to in any ward? Are you in Chilanga or you are from somewhere else?
Yes, I'm in the Ward Development Committee, despite of I'm from Ruapura Province, Mansaward. I'm the secretary for Mansaward Development Committee. I'm just getting some information.
That is great. Yeah, it's really great that you have been able to join us. In fact, the first program that we wanted to have it with somebody from Milengi. Yes. Yeah, we wanted to speak to somebody from Milengi, but unfortunately, he had the technical challenges and we couldn't do it. So it's great that Mr. Msonda, Douglas, you have been able to join. How did you hear about this? How did you hear about this program?
Sorry?
How did you hear about this program?
I'm the follower of the same TV we are using. I've just saw the notification came.
That's great. So can you just explain who you are and what role you play?
Yes. I'm Douglas Msonda from Ruapura Province, basically in Mansaward, which is belonging in Bat constituency. I'm the Ward Development Executive Secretary.
That's great. So would you like? We are getting you. And let me just encourage you also that feel free if you want to use the local language. You are welcome to use the local language. use whatever you are comfortable with. You can use English, you can use a local language. So would you just could you tell us how how you went about electing the Ward Development Committee in Mansa?
Yes, for sure. The council, we were told by the council that we need to elect the Ward Development Committee. So, and our election was transparent. The community from each zone, as you are saying, kwali kuikara okuchita sensitize abantu. Tulefuwa abantu abasona swaba kuiminina mu Ward Development Committee ama representative y'amadinisi. So if kwali okuchita sensitize abantu, and we gathered at the polling station kwali okuchita ama election. There was an election, and we were told that this team tawufide okuba ma political party. That feel okuba mu active political party, active politics, and we followed that. So if in my election, the election was conducted very well, and we were elected. After that, quali orientations by the council, we are called all members who were elected. We called by the council, and there is quali kupanga executive as we are now. Quali executive from among ourselves. We were elected 4, which is the chairperson and the vice, and the secretary and the treasurer, and 4 trustees. Yeah, we are about 8 in the executive.
Okay, that's great. That's the process. After you. Oh, I'm getting feedback. Exactly, that's the process.
It's network.
Yeah, the executive is elected from amongst those that have been elected by the community at the ward level. Like in our case in Nyemba ward, in a similar way, we have the chairperson of Nyemba Ward Development Committee, and there's a vice chairperson. We have the secretary, and then we have the treasurer, and then we have subcommittees. One for socio-economic and one for projects, and of course, then there are trustees that are also part of that. There are eight of us in total. So, what would you say about the atmosphere in the community when they hear about the constituency development fund?
Yeah, that's a good question. For sure, abantu bamfudo kwati constituency development fund inayiba released. Bali ambo kutumasa okufaidikisho for namakozi, more especially first of all, there is this secondary bursaries and skills training bursaries. Twali kwato abantu bambo kula tukonka. No, this and this nash fumendarama tamuletwe wa shanshan. Na strashe that no to the council no plan that money bantu balera and if bali for bursaries, secondary bursaries, skills. What are we going to do now? So Thursday last week, we were given the forms, 2 forms for secondaries and for skills trainings to start distributing kuma beneficiaries. Abali for individuals, abali willing kuyachitako skills. Now those are vulnerable people abali boarding schools are not affording to pay for boarding fees. There is bursaries, and that's the thing about the CDF. So abantu bale for kwishwa more especially empowerments. The rona chira nkoyati abanensu kumkwachibwa na empowerment through the CDF, women empowerment. So na ifo bene abantu era obonfuire efyo n'abamu okufa ekishoboka naye ffe tulefa kwa ama empowerment so far ama applications balereeta ama groups ama women's empowerment youth empowerment and those who are ama skills trainings n'aba secondary schools.
So there's a lot of interest that has been generated, isn't it?
For sure.
So what do you think? Is this a good thing? Is it any different from what people have experienced in the past?
For sure, exactly. This is very good and people appreciating. And there's a transparency in terms of the system. Compared to some back, takwalewo if so if our pub namukwata n'abali pa community level ama representative they are there but tabayishibikwe and things were happening in a different way compared to this time. Things are transparent and people are happy because abantu bali freely okusafika kuli ifufo bali pa community fo bekala na than kumutuma direct kuli ba council kulya okuya kumanya ba MP. Some people they are feared to kuyalanda na ba MP kuya council kushani ku balatina nomba ifufo bali pa community twikala na bena mu community they are free to come direct nokuleta ma problems nokwenda pafile fo ikwa ukubafu and us we are free to go direct to the council, the MP and councillor as well.
That's great. Memory, do you have a comment or a question to ask Douglas?
Thank you so much, moderator. Not necessarily. I'm actually part of the WDC for Chilongolo ward in Chilanga constituency. So
that's great. You know, I mean, Mr. Beenie unfortunately hasn't made it, so it's very good that you have been able to join us. Yes. So what can you share?
So I'm actually the treasurer for Chilongolo ward. I think just to add to what you've already said and what Douglas Msonda has shared. Really, the expectations out there and the response that we are getting from the community is really overwhelming. Like the community are really appreciating. A lot of people were not even aware about WDC. They didn't even know that there's such a committee that existed in the community previously. It wasn't even known who represented the communities in the past WDCs. But then with now, they're able to appreciate because they were actively involved. The appointments were, were very open. They had to vote. People had to choose their own people that they know. So people are really appreciating. We've been having zonal meetings. Even today, we had a zonal meeting for Oriental Zone, and we were actually blessed to have our council chairperson, Mr. Tembo, Champion Tembo. He actually passed through and found us as we were holding our zonal meeting at Oriental, which is a very good thing and a very rare thing, actually, if you compare with what was happening previously. And the community is really appreciating and happy that there's a lot of transparency. And even as we go back to them, their leaders are able to come back after being, elected in, which was not seen previously. Once elected, they would vanish, but then our councillor is always on the ground. And even, like I'm saying, we had our council chairperson to pass through as we were holding a meeting. So there's even some checks and balances, because we actually presented to the council that we are going to have a zonal meeting today at Oriental. And the council chairperson, without notifying us, decided to just pass through. So now imagine if we had lied that we were having a meeting and then he passes through and doesn't find anything. But he found us with the community members and we were busy discussing and disseminating information concerning the cooperatives that people need to form for them to benefit from the constituency development fund, and also the issue of bursaries. People are really excited and they're expecting a lot from us, actually. And it's really good. It's a really good thing to engage. We can't just wait for the 25.7 million for 2022 to be dispersed for us to keep running. But suffice to say that we also appreciate the fact that the 1.6 million CDF for 2021 was actually disbursed in November by the New Dawn government to the local councils. And we were actually tasked to come up with a project which we submitted to the council, but we haven't really gotten feedback yet. We are still waiting. So for us as Chilongolo Ward, really, the project that we submitted was for the construction of a classroom block, because we only have one government school in our ward, and that's the Makeni GRZ. So Makeni GRZ school, it accommodates 1,900 pupils, or services 1,900 pupils. And the school was only going up to grade 9 at some point, but it was since upgraded to be a secondary school. But when you look at the infrastructure, the number of classrooms at the school, they are not enough right now. The grade 10s, the first set of grade 10s who were in grade 10 last year, who are supposed to be in grade 11 this year, do not even have a classroom because of the numbers of students. What is currently happening is they actually have 4 streams per grade. So now you can imagine for 4 streams per grade, and in one stream, in one classroom, you find there about maybe 60 people. So there are a lot of those challenges. So as WDC, really, we thought education is a priority. Before we can think of all the other challenges that we are facing in our ward, we thought, no, we need continuity for our, our children who are within the community, because the nearest secondary school is very far. So we needed to ensure that at least if we can manage to erect a classroom block to have at least the school be able to accommodate from grade 1 up to grade 12 before we can think of other things. So we submitted that project to the council. We're just waiting for feedback. So there's so much that is happening, but just to say a few, I think that's where we are currently.
No, that's very encouraging. It's amazing the kind of interest that has been generated, with this increase in the Constituency Development Fund from a mere 1.6 million to 25.7 million. And also it's worth to note that the community members are eager to participate, in deciding what they want to do with that funding. The needs are great. As we are saying, education is one of the areas which really, children are sitting, some places children are sitting on the floor, they don't have desks. For example, in Nyemba Ward here, we have one school. Well, it started as a community school. There are good structures in terms of classrooms, that have been built from donations from donors. But we can imagine where you have more than 400 children. Some of them are very, very young children. If they go to school, but the toilet facilities, they only have 2 pit latrines. 2 pit latrines for 400 children, including teachers. And you can imagine, what impact that has on children, especially the girl children. Children will be queuing, to go in the pit latrine. And when they get there, they are gazing at this hole, which is dangerous for the, for the young ones. So even for us in Nyemba Ward, the only proposal that we submitted for the part of 1.6 is, to bring water to that school, water reticulation, sinking a borehole and have running water in toilets. So that's exciting. Mr. Msonda, what can you say about the activities that you have started so far? Have you had time also to submit project proposals for the 1.6 for last year?
Yeah, sure. That's the question I wanted to ask you about the projects. I just want to find out, how do you do after you identify the projects, how do you do with the council in order to start to work on that one?
Memory, would you want to answer that?
Yes, I will respond. Mr. Msonda, I believe your counselor is part
Yes.
of your WDC. Is your counselor part of the Ward Development
sure.
Committee you sit on? Yes. So, you know, the direct communication that you have between the council and the WDC is actually the counselor. So in our case, communication came through our counselor. The council gave our counselor some forms. There are some forms called proposals that are actually already, there's a template that you're supposed to fill in as WDC, depending on the projects that you want to submit. So once you have filled in, you have to, it just has some basic questions on what project you want to do, why it is relevant, and who identified that project. Of course, it needs to be identified by the community. It's not for WDC to sit down and think on behalf of the community, no. So when you have those zonal meetings, the purpose of having zonal meetings is to get feedback from the actual community members on the challenges that they're facing and the development needs that they want in their community. So it's from that zonal meeting now that you go, as you sit as a WDC now executive or committee, you put your submissions on what the community really needs. So now with that, you have to come up with a priority. Obviously, you cannot, you are so many on the WDC, like us, we are 10, and you cannot, everyone represents a specific zone or specific area, and every area has its own needs. And obviously, you can't have everyone's submissions done at any given time. You have to sit down now as WDC and pick a priority that benefits the entire community. I can give an example. Like for us, we chose the school because we know all of us, regardless of which zone you belong to, regardless of the area you're coming from, all our children, have to benefit from that school because that's the only school that we had. So we had to prioritize it. So you prioritize what you can do at the beginning. You come up with an action plan. So we actually have an action plan of the developmental needs that we need in our ward, stemming from the zonal meetings that we have with the community. So it's the communities that are telling us what they want to see in the ward. So in terms of what you need to do, you probably need to engage your counselor. Your counselor needs to obtain the proposal template for you as a ward so that you can fill in and submit to the council through your counselor. I don't know if I've responded.
Yeah, thank you, Memory. So the whole process begins with an announcement from the council. The council is going to make an announcement. It's a publication. It's a call for proposals where they are saying there is money available. Like in this case, they're saying the 2021 1.6 million was still available. So they said they sent an announcement, and you have to publish this announcement, make sure that as many people as possible in the whole world see that that announcement. And as Memory has explained, once the announcement has been made, if the community does not yet have any project that is ready, then each zone representative has to organize a meeting with their zone, to generate project ideas, to identify the priority needs of that particular zone. You may have a number of things that you think are your priorities. And then you can list, what is the priority of priorities? What is the most important thing that we need in this community? Once you identify it, then you write a proposal. Now, normally, as Memory has said, there's a template which has already been provided, which you just fill in, which is really a project proposal. Well, after you have filled it in, then you say, you send it to the Ward Development Committee for them to review it. And if they think that it's a good proposal, then the Ward Development Committee recommends to the Constituency Development Fund, for that project to be funded. So it's important that it's not one person who sits and says, this is the project that comes from this zone. So if there are 5, I don't know how many zones are in your ward, Mr. Msonda. So it's like every zone. So how many do you have? How many zones?
We have 10 zones. We have 10 zones.
Yeah, so like, you know, when the announcement has been made, then there will be, each zone is going to come up with a project of two, which are submitted to the ward development committee, and then the committee reviews and selects those that they send it to the constituency development fund. But the important thing here to emphasize is that these projects must come from the people, from the community. It's not something that should come from an individual who says, "Oh, he just wakes up, oh, you know, our road is bad, and this is what we want to do in this community." Because there has to be community ownership, and it has to be something that the community itself has decided. So, did you have anything like that for the 1.6 million for last year in 2021? Was there a call for proposals?
No, no. Yes, there is. There is the call of proposals.
Okay.
We are told to identify. We are told to identify at least 2 projects which we can start look on it right now.
Okay.
In the next a month, in the 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Yes.
Okay. So that is from the whole world.
From the whole
okay.
world.
So you are still working on that project. Are you filling in a form? Did you get a form from the council, and you are using that form to fill in the project that you want to apply for?
No, we supposed to have the meeting today, as memory shared today. Now we didn't. I think tomorrow we will be having a meeting. That's when we are going to get the same form from the council.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Any other comments?
No, that's all. We're contributing data.
That's very good. I mean, just stay on. We are still on. Musha, would you want to come in? Dr. Munsha, do you want to come in? Okay, so really, that's great to hear what is happening in Mansa and in Chilongolo. Is it Chilongolo?
Yes, Chilongolo ward.
Chilongolo ward in Chilanga. So now, what are you doing to prepare for the 25.7 million? Have you started making any plans?
Yeah, so for us as Chilongolo WDC, currently we are in the process of finalizing our ward development plan. We said we needed to be proactive, I think, to already have a plan and timelines of when we need to execute certain or submit proposals for certain projects. So that even at the time when we have a call for proposals like for the 25 million, we would have already had, because we have the template, would have already had the forms filled in and everything, because we already know we've already completed the zonal meetings for all zones. Yeah. Sorry, I know we haven't done all of them. We have one remaining. The last one will be next week, actually, for Makeni GRZ. So we've done most of the zones. So we're only remaining with one. So in terms of the community needs, we already know exactly what the community, what our community needs, what our ward requires. So we are actually developing a ward development plan, because there's so many needs, needs are endless. And if you ask the community, everyone has something to say about what they want done. But at the end of the day, just like I said, we can't do everything. So we probably just need to prioritize and look at, okay, the high impact projects and projects that are likely to benefit almost everyone, because some of the project needs, yes, you find that maybe they are area specific. So you find, yes, it's a need, but maybe it's so much benefit the people in a certain area as opposed to the other areas. So we're trying to strike a balance to first focus on things that really benefit the entire ward, actually. Then we also have listed now those area specific projects, which we can tackle later, because I mean, if you start doing today, you're thinking of this, tomorrow every day you have a different need. You don't focus, in the end, you find that you haven't even done anything. 2 years, because our term is 2 years. So even 2 years elapses and there's nothing really to show that this is what this WDC has done.
Mhm.
So we really want to just focus. So we are prioritizing. Yeah, so we'll be, executing or submitting proposals based on our priority list that we're coming up with.
Yes, I mean, there will always be a ward development committee, although membership might change, because those that are elected on the ward development committee are supposed to serve for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
But they can be re-elected. There's a possibility that
that's if you're doing a good job. So that's why we want to make sure that our first, 2.5 years, people must really see that there's some change, there's improvement, there's something to point at to say this is what has been done with the CDF money, with a lot of accountability and transparency. So that's what we're working on.
Exactly. That's crucial. That's critical. I was just pointing out the fact that there will always be a ward development committee in place. So if you set a good foundation, you may continue to build on that. And even when you are out of the ward, other people take over from you, they'll continue building from where you will have started. You have said something that is important, which all ward development committees should actually plan to do something about. You don't have to wait until the announcement has been made from the council to submit proposals. You can start working in advance. And this is what we are doing also in Nyemba Ward. What we have done, we had zonal meetings where each zone identified some project ideas, 4, 5, so and so on. So each zone identified some project ideas. Now we have said go back and work on the details of these ideas. Meet the people in your zones, discuss the projects that you have, the project ideas that you have, prioritize them. As you said, people can have a shopping list, and sometimes they'll pick something which is not even very important as the first project. But we are encouraging that there's a professional way of doing the needs assessment. When you identify a project idea, do further analysis. You have to say what are actually the problems that we have in this community, and what causes these problems, so that when you come up with a project, you come up with something that is not just going to address the symptoms of the problem, but to address the root cause of those problems. And the goodness is that when you can even have a project proposal written in advance.
Exactly.
Once the communities have decided this is what we want to do. For example, if they want to build a school, you have to come up with a project. What will you need in order to build this school? What type of school are you going to build? What size? What are the materials that are going to be needed? Who is going to build it? You get quotations in advance for the material that you think you are going to use. If it's training people within the community that are going to work on that project, you also include that. Are you going to identify people who are going to work on this project? Do they need, if they already have skills, do they need, refresher course for those skills, so that when they begin to work on the project, they will do it without major challenges. And once you have these ideas, and you can prioritize and say, okay, when we have an opportunity, we are going to begin with this project. So there could be project 1, project 2, Project 3, Project 4, Project 5. Those projects have come from the brainstorming that has taken place in the community, and the priorities have been done by the community itself. Now we know that there aren't enough resources to do everything that would want to do, at the zone level or at the ward level. That's why the prioritizing is critical. So when an announcement is made that funding is available for projects, when you have done all this, it's easy because you just go to your priority number one. Get the application form from the council and fill in the details of that project. It will be easy because you'll have already done all that process of brainstorming as a community, and within no time you are able to put up a project together and then submit it to the Ward Development Committee, and the Ward Development Committee meets to review the project. Once they think that is a viable project, then they pass it on to the Constituency Development Fund Committee for consideration for funding. And of course, we know that at that level as well, there's a technical committee at the Constituency Development Committee level that reviews the projects that have been recommended from wards. And once they are happy with, if they are happy with the proposal, then it joins the list of those that are going to be sent to the Ministry of Local Government and the Rural Development for final approval before funding. And if it's not if it's a good project but it has not passed, it can either go it can go back to the ward so that they can refine that proposal, and then it can be resubmitted. And if it doesn't make it for the second time, then it's sent back again to the ward, perhaps for future consideration. So let me just emphasize the importance of planning ahead. Because if your projects are not funded in 2022, you know that there will be more funding in 2023. So if your priority number one is funded in 2022, then you look forward to 2023 so that you can submit your second priority if priorities will not have changed. But again, it will be important to review what was your priority number two. If priorities have changed, you feel free to change what is the next project that we are going to submit. Great. It seems we have lost Mr. Msonda. It's really great hearing from Mansa, and also hearing from you, Memory, from Chilanga. Is there anything else you would want to say? Noting that we don't have anybody. Okay. Is there anything else that you'd want to say, Memory? Oh, we have lost you as well. Yeah, so really, this is what we wanted to do this evening. We wanted to hear from what is happening in the Chilanga ward. And unfortunately, Mr. Lakivene did not make it. But thank God, we had two people that represented their wards very well. One from Chilongolo in Chilanga, and then another one, Mr. Msonda, all the way from Mansa. That was really great hearing from Mansa. Let me just do a bit of marketing as we get to the end of this session. If you are able to give TV Bapetu some stars, please do so, because this is how these programs are made possible. They are made possible by your contributions, by giving some stars. We are thankful to those that have been giving stars, and we are appealing to many more to do so. So as we wind down this program, let me just make an appeal. This is a program that comes every Saturday from 20 hours. We would like to hear from your constituencies. Would like to hear from your wards. We'll try to make an arrangement for a guest every week. But if you are listening, please be prepared to join us because we'd like to hear from you as well. If you have got any feedback or any questions to ask, please do send them to mnkwilimba@gmail.com. And also, if you would want to make an appearance on this program, you can let us know at mnkwilimba@gmail.com, or you can send, or you can call me or send a WhatsApp message. My WhatsApp number is 0962330371. My WhatsApp number, or if you want to call me, you can call me, is 0962330371. It was great having you, Memory, joining us. I think we end here for now and look forward to next week. Please do come back, Memory, and bring many more people to discuss these important issues.
Thank you so much. But maybe I saw in the comments there's somebody who was actually asking about cooperatives. I saw somebody who was asking about cooperatives and the issue of boarding. They were requesting that if we can say something about that. So I don't know if we have time or.
Oh yeah, sure. We can say something about that. I mean, you know, the funds for boarding schools have already been sent to constituencies, and the announcement has already been made by the councils. So if anybody knows a child who needs help to be in a boarding school, all they need to do is the child has to have an acceptance letter. And they can go to their zonal representative and get a form. There's a form, you know, to put in details as you apply for the, you know, for the sponsorship of a child who has been accepted in a public school. So the information is there, the money is there, and my worry actually is that this money, maybe for this time, it may not be fully used. You know, people are slow to apply for this. Maybe they are not aware, but please know that the money is in the constituencies. It has already been released, and you can start applying for assistance if you need assistance. The other question that have been asked in our group, for example, they're saying, okay, what if a child has been accepted in a secondary school that is outside the constituency? There is no problem as long as the child is coming from your constituency. It does not matter where the child has been accepted. You know, that if the child needs help, that child should get help. The child comes from a constituency.
Yeah. So just to add on that one, I think that's a debate and some clarity that mostly the general public are asking, because most of the people think, for example, the way we belong to Chilanga constituency, they think the bursaries for boarding will only be given to children that are actually going to a boarding school that is within Chilanga. But that shouldn't be the case, because I mean there are some constituencies that don't even have boarding schools. So does it mean those who do not have boarding schools in their constituencies then cannot benefit from the bursaries? The answer is no. So just like Mr. Mapanza has explained, so it doesn't matter as long as you belong to a certain constituency, that's where you live. If you are accepted at a boarding school that is in Southern your child is accepted at a boarding school that is in Southern Province, but you are domiciled in Chilanga constituency. I'm talking about Chilanga because that's where I belong. But suffice to say that you can place your own constituency in place of Chilanga when I say Chilanga. So whichever constituency you belong to, you can only apply through the WDC that is in your area, in your ward, for your child to be able to be sponsored at a government boarding school wherever they are accepted. But just like also Mr. Mapanza said, it's important that for you to begin the application process, there's already a form. There are standardized templates. It's just a matter of filling in. But you should already have an acceptance letter. So it's not only for these who are going to school now, even those who dropped out of school previously because they lacked sponsorship and want to go to boarding school. The best is you can apply, get an acceptance letter. Once you have an acceptance letter, you fill in the application form, which you need to access through your WDC. So we are appealing to the general public. This is a general statement, not just for people in Chilanga, but everywhere, regardless of where you are, because as long as you are in the community somewhere, it means you belong to a specific ward. And you need to benefit from this CDF. And the only way you can benefit is you need to really be active and participate in community issues. So you should be alive and be able to get information. When you are called for meetings, like your WDC calls you for a meeting, be there, because it's only in those platforms that you'll be able to access information that will help you benefit from all these developmental issues that the government is coming up with. So you can only access that application form to apply for sponsorship or for bursary for your child through your WDC. So you should know, everyone should know who their WDC members are, who are representing them, because that's where you submit your application. So I don't know whether it's standardized, Mr. Mapanza, maybe you have more information, but for us in Chilanga, if you're in Chilanga ward and you're listening and you actually know some vulnerable children that have been accepted, have passed well to go to higher grades, but they do not have sponsorship and they want to go to boarding school, applications are open up to the 18th of March for Chilanga. I don't know if that's a standard date that has been put for all the other constituencies, that I can't say, but for Chilanga, 18th March is the deadline for submission of applications. So please, if you are in Chilanga ward, if you are in any different constituency, Chilanga constituency, or if you're in a different constituency, it might be of your interest to find out when the deadline is, or to just simply be proactive, identify who your WDCs are or your counselor, then through them, you can access the form and start applying. Let's not deprive our children of this opportunity. And you don't want our nation to be an educated nation. So even our ladies, women, please, the youth, whether you dropped out of school, you fell pregnant due to circumstances, you couldn't go back to school, there's an opportunity, because education is now free, and the New Dawn government, through the Constituency Development Fund, are ready to support and fund us. So please, let's utilize this opportunity. We should not be pushed, because that's also something, some people, some community members, they want to, you really have to be pushing them, do this, do that, when there's an opportunity that presents itself. Gone are the days when we will be receiving the way people are receiving, handouts, In this New Dawn government, I think from the president, from his first speech, he's been very categorical, he's been very clear. If you want to really be, to benefit from this government or from whatever is happening in our country, you really need to work hard and position yourself, exploit the opportunities that are there, not just complaining, but when you're called for meetings, you don't want to participate, because it's only those platforms that will give you information about all these available opportunities for you to exploit. Then when it comes to youth empowerment, we've heard that, I think we all know that the CDF has been increased from 1.6 to 25.7 million now, which is a good thing. It's a drastic increase, which is welcomed by everyone. Everyone is excited. But in terms of that 25.7 million, it actually is broken down. Yeah. So the breakdown of the 25.7 million is 5 million is for youth and women empowerment. Then 5 million is reserved for school bursaries. Then the 15.7 million, that's the one that is now available for developmental projects. We're talking about infrastructure, schools, roads, whatever developmental projects that we may need. So, we need to position ourselves. The only way you can benefit from this youth empowerment or women empowerment is for you to be in a cooperative. This money is not going to be given to individuals. No, I have a business, I'm an individual, I need funding or I need capital. No. So for you to be able to benefit, you need to identify people within your community that have a similar vision, that you share a similar vision with. You discuss on what projects you can actually embark on, things that you can do, you know, how productive can you make yourselves as a cooperative? You need to form, and for you to form a cooperative, the requirements are that the minimum number that is required is 10. Yeah. So 10 is the minimum number that is required for a cooperative to be formed. So that cooperative is supposed to be registered. So again, you should really know who your WDC members are in your communities. Because when you form those cooperatives, there is a form, there is already also a template that you need to fill in on what projects you want to do, who you are, and your NRC numbers, all those details. The screening is done. You need to fill in that form and submit through your ward development committee. So please, the only way you can, if you don't claim this money, if we don't claim this money, we hold ourselves to blame, because information is made available. You know, all you need is just to take position and ensure that you exploit the opportunities that are available. So you need to form cooperatives of youths, cooperatives of women. The minimum number is 10. There is no limit. You can even be 20, you can even be 30, but obviously you should have a manageable, you know, number that you can at least manage, because again, sometimes when you have too many, you know, the interests are different. Maybe you might not even be making any progress. So in terms of the projects that you can propose as a cooperative, you just look within your communities, see the needs, the community needs, what is lacking in your community. Yeah, it's just an example. Some areas are too, you know, too remote within Lusaka, but within the ward, you find that maybe the area is too remote. Even a bus station, you have to walk a long distance.
Sorry, memory, to cut you short. I would like to invite you to participate in the coming programs. You have mentioned a lot of important things. You are passionate about it, so you are welcome to join me every Saturday as we discuss these issues with our friends wherever they may be, in whatever constituency throughout Zambia. I think we have run out of time, but maybe you can just stay a little. Once the program ends, don't go away. Just stay where you have just for a few minutes, so that we can have a chat in the background. Otherwise, to all our viewers, we thank you for your viewership, and we look forward to presenting another program next week on Saturday, beginning from 20 hours. Bye for now.
Okay, bye-bye.